When men tell me they want to feel alive again, they often expect me to recommend some expensive supplement, an extreme workout routine, or some complicated health plan that takes hours every day. But the truth is, the real secret, to restoring your active life, to waking up with energy and moving through the day with purpose, doesn't require any of that. It's not a pill, it's not a shake, and it's definitely not one of those miracle gadgets you see online. What I'm about to share with you is so simple, so unconventional, that most people laugh when they hear it until they try it, and then their entire outlook changes. I've seen men in their late 60s and 70s go from dragging themselves out of bed, feeling like their best years were behind them, to waking up before their alarm, walking taller, thinking clearer, and, importantly, feeling confident in their own skin again. And here's the twist. The thing I'm talking about is something you would never imagine could have this kind of power. In fact, I guarantee it's not even on your daily radar, right? Now, it takes less than 3 minutes. It costs almost nothing. And yet, if you commit to it every day, it can transform the way your body functions, from the way your joints move to how your blood flows to the strength of your most important muscles. When I first discovered this technique, I was skeptical myself. I remember thinking, how could something so small make such a big difference? But after I applied it consistently and then taught it to my patients, I saw results that were too powerful to ignore. Men who had stopped playing their favorite sports because of stiffness started again. Men who had accepted constant fatigue as just part of aging found themselves with an extra burst of energy after lunch. Even intimacies, the kind you might have thought was slipping away, came back stronger than it had in years. And no, I'm not talking about anything dangerous, risky, or embarrassing. You can do this anywhere, in your living room, in the shower, even in the kitchen while you're waiting for your coffee. The science behind it is fascinating. Without giving away too much too soon, what this technique does is wake up certain dormant pathways in your body, areas that, over the years, have become sluggish because we stop using them. These pathways control circulation, muscle activation, and even the chemical signals that tell your brain, hey, I'm ready for action. Once you reactivate them, it's like flipping a switch. Your body remembers what it's capable of. And the best part, the benefits stack up over time. Do it today, you'll feel better. Do it every day, and in a few weeks, you won't even recognize the old you. I'll warn you, though, most men fail with this because they underestimate it. They think it's too easy, so it can't be that effective. But I'm here to tell you, the easiest habits are often the most powerful, if you stick to them. In a moment, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it, step by step, and why each second matters. But before I do, I want you to imagine this. It's 30 days from now. You're walking into a room and people notice something different. They can't quite put their finger on it, but you feel it. Your posture is better, your steps are quicker, you feel stronger, and deep down, you know it's because you committed to this one thing every single day. That's the power we're about to unlock. All right, let's get into it. What I'm about to teach you is something that, on the surface, might seem ridiculously simple, almost too simple. But the truth is, this little daily action works because it taps into the body's built-in systems for maintaining strength, circulation, and hormonal balance, the very systems that tend to slow down after 50 and even more after 60. You see, over the decades, as we move less, sit more, and put our bodies under less physical challenge, certain signals inside us start to fade. These aren't just mental signals, they're physical messages that your nervous system sends to your muscles, your blood vessels, even your heart and brain. When those signals get weaker, you start to notice slower blood flow to critical areas, muscles that don't fire as quickly as they used to, a decrease in the production of key hormones that make you feel energized, confident, and capable. Now, here's the good news. Your body never truly forgets how to run at its peak. Those systems are still there, waiting for a wake-up call. And the technique I'm going to give you is exactly that tan internal alarm clock for your vitality. I call it targeted micro-activation. The idea is simple. Every day you apply gentle, but deliberate stimulation to 3 specific points in your body. These aren't random spots. They're points with a high concentration of nerve endings and blood vessels that, when activated in sequence, send a surge of communication throughout your system. It's like tapping the shoulder of your body's control room and saying, wake up, we've got work to do. And here's where it gets interesting. Studies show that targeted pressure and movement in these points can boost local circulation by as much as 90% within minutes. That's not a small bump. That's the difference between feeling sluggish and feeling like your body is ready to perform now before your mind starts wandering. Let me be clear, this isn't about lifting heavy weights or doing high-impact exercises. This is something any man can do, regardless of current fitness level, and it doesn't strain your joints or put your back at risk. The key is consistency. Doing it one time will feel good. Doing it every day, even for just a couple of minutes, creates a compounding effect. Day by day, you'll notice your energy in the morning comes faster. Your mood stays higher throughout the day. You don't feel as tired after walking, climbing stairs, or doing chores. And yes, the kind of blood flow that matters most for your confidence as a man gets stronger, more reliable. When my older patients first start, they often think it's too easy to matter. But after the first week, they start saying things like, "I feel lighter on my feet. I didn't need my afternoon nap. I woke up before my alarm and didn't feel groggy." And by week 4, some of them are telling me, "I feel like I've reversed 10 years of aging." Now, I want you to understand something important. This isn't magic, it's biology. When you stimulate these points daily, you're increasing nitric oxide production, improving endothelial function, that's the lining of your blood vessels, and reactivating neuromuscular pathways that tend to go dormant after years of underuse. Think of it like this. If you leave a machine in the garage for years, unused, the parts get stiff. But if you oil it, clean it, and run it every day even, for just a few minutes, it starts running smoother, faster, and stronger. Your body is no different. In a moment, I'll show you exactly where these 3 points are, how to find them, and the simple sequence you need to follow. But before I do, I want you to commit to yourself that once you learn it, you'll actually do it every single day. Because here's the truth. This technique works best for the men who decide they're not going to just try it for a while, but make it part of their daily ritual. Like brushing your teeth, like drinking water. Like breathing, every day you skip it, you're letting those vital pathways slip back into sleep mode. Every day you do it, you're telling your body, we're staying young, we're staying strong, and we're not giving up ground to age without a fight. And trust, your body listens. The first activation point is one most men overlook their entire lives, not because it's hidden, but because it's simply never taught. It's located at the base of your pelvic floor, just behind the soft tissue where your inner thighs meet your torso. This area is rich in nerve endings and small blood vessels that feed directly into the lower pelvic region. It's like a junction box for your body's electrical and circulatory systems down there. When we age, this point tends to go quiet because of long hours of sitting, less physical strain, and a natural decline in neural firing speed. The muscles in this region, the ones responsible for controlling blood flow, pressure, and responsiveness, become less active. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When those muscles get lazy, they don't just affect your performance in the bedroom. They also impact your bladder control, your walking stability, and even your lower back strength. So, here's what we're going to do. I want you to start by standing with your feet shoulder-width apart. Relax your knees slightly. Don't lock them. Take a slow, deep breath in, and as you exhale, gently press your thumb or fingertips into the crease where your thigh meets your pelvis. You don't need to push hard. This isn't about pain. It's about communication. Once you've found that spot, apply steady, gentle pressure for 15 seconds while keeping your breathing slow and controlled. You might feel a slight warmth, a pulse, or even a tingling sensation. That's good. That's blood flow beginning to respond now. Here's the trick. While maintaining that pressure, I want you to very slightly tense the muscles in your pelvic floor. Imagine you're trying to stop yourself midstream while urinating. That's the contraction we're looking for. Hold that gentle squeeze for 5 seconds, then release. Repeat this contraction 5 times while keeping your thumb in place. Why? Does this work? Because you're combining 2 powerful signals, mechanical stimulation from the pressure and neuromuscular activation from the contraction. Together, they wake up the nerve pathways and encourage more blood to travel to the region. When my patients start this, some of them are surprised by how quickly they notice a change. Sometimes in just minutes, you might feel lighter, more upright, even a bit warmer in your lower abdomen. This isn't imagination, it's physiology. Increased blood flow means more oxygen, more nutrients, and better waste removal from the tissues. And here's something fascinating. Studies show that reactivating this specific point daily can lead to measurable improvements in testosterone bioavailability within just a few weeks. That's because better circulation supports healthier hormone transport and utilization. Your body can actually use what it's producing instead of letting it stagnate. A quick warning though, don't overdo it. This isn't about crushing pressure or doing hundreds of repetitions. Gentle, consistent activation beats aggressive overwork every time. Think of it like priming a pump. You just need enough to get the water flowing. Not so much that you break the mechanism now. I want you to remember this first point because we're going to combine it with the second and third points in a precise sequence. That's when the real magic happens, when all 3 are activated in order. They create a cascading effect on your entire circulatory and nervous system. But before we move on to point number 2, let me share a quick story. A man named David 67 years old, came into my clinic complaining about fatigue, low drive, and what he called sluggish mornings. He was already trying supplements, doing light exercise and eating better, but nothing was moving the needle. When I taught him this first activation point and he committed to doing it daily, the change was staggering. Within 2 weeks, he told me, "It's like someone flipped the breaker back on. I'm actually excited to get out of bed again." That's the power of a simple, targeted habit. And that's only from the first point. In a moment, we'll move on to the second activation point, one that works even deeper, opening blood flow through a pathway most men don't even know they have, and when you pair it with what you've just learned, you'll feel the difference almost immediately. Now that you've awakened the first activation point, we're going to go deeper, literally. This second point is not just about waking up local circulation. It's about opening the main highway that feeds your pelvic region and lower body with new oxygenated blood. If the first point was like flipping a switch on a local lamp, the second point is like turning on the entire breaker for the downstairs floor of your house. The changes from this point can ripple through your body in ways you may not have felt in years, not just in intimacy, but in stamina, balance, and core energy. This point sits along your inguinal line, just slightly to the inside of the hip bone. If you slide your fingers from the front of your hip inward toward your groin, stopping just before you hit the base of your abdomen, you'll feel a small depression or soft channel. Underneath that spot lies one of the body's most important vascular junctions, the femoral artery, and its connected nerve bundles. Now, before you get nervous, no, we're not going to poke at your artery. This isn't dangerous pressure. Instead, this is about triggering the surrounding tissue to relax and open, giving your circulatory system the freedom it needs to do its job. Here's how to activate it. Find the spot, lie on your back with your knees bent and feet flat on the floor. Using your fingertips, gently feel along the inner curve of your hip bone toward your groin until you find that soft channel. It may feel slightly warm or tender. That's a good sign you're in the right place. Gentle press and roll using 2 fingers. Apply light, steady pressure, and make small circular motions, no more than the size of a coin. You're not trying to dig deep. Think of it as coaxing the muscle and fascia to release. Do this for 20 seconds on one side before switching to the other. Breathing sync. Here's the secret that makes this work. Every time you exhale, increase the pressure just slightly, no more than 10 to 15%. And as you inhale, ease off a fraction. This creates a pulsing effect that encourages blood to move more freely. After about 40 seconds in total, 20 seconds per side, you may notice a strange but pleasant warmth spreading downward toward your thighs and upward into your lower abdomen. That's the signal we want, proof that the highway is opening now. Why is this so important for men over 60? Because as we age, the tissues around this vascular junction tend to stiffen. Scar tissue from old injuries, sedentary habits, or even years of tight belts and restrictive clothing can limit how freely blood can pass through. And when less blood flows through here, everything downstream, including your pelvic muscles, and yes, your most important organ for intimacy, suffers from poor oxygen delivery. In my clinical work, I've seen this point change everything for men who thought their decline was inevitable. There was one patient, Robert, 71, who came in convinced that this was just old age and that no trick could change it. He had stopped dating, avoided social outings, and even skipped vacations with his friends because he felt dimmed. Like someone had lowered the brightness setting on his life. When I taught Robert this second activation point and had him pair it with the first one we just went through, he noticed something unexpected after just 1 week. His walks felt easier. He could go up the stairs without stopping halfway to catch his breath. And by week 3, he told me, half embarrassed but smiling ear to ear, "Dr. Sarah, I woke up this morning, ready. And I mean ready, like I haven't been in over a decade." That's the power of reawakening a pathway that's been half shut for years. A few cautions: don't rush this process. You might be tempted to press harder or for longer, thinking it will work faster, but the body doesn't respond to force. The way it responds to gentle, consistent activation, think of it like loosening a rusted hinge. You oil it and move it gently back and forth, not slam it with a hammer. Once you've done both sides, stand up slowly and walk around for a minute or 2. Pay attention to how your hips and legs feel. Some men describe it as lighter, others as more connected. What's happening is increased blood volume and nerve activity in areas that have been half asleep for years. And here's the most exciting part: when we combine this second activation point with the third one I'm about to teach you in the next block, something incredible happens. Your body doesn't just wake up for a moment. It stays primed for hours. This final point works on a deeper neuromuscular reflex that ties directly into your body's ability to maintain firmness, control, and endurance, even long after you've stopped doing the activation. It's like flipping on a stay alert mode for your lower body's circulation. We've reached the most powerful part of this entire sequence, the third activation point. If the first point flipped the light switch and the second point opened the main highway, then this final point is like unlocking the central control room that regulates blood flow, nerve responsiveness, and muscle engagement all at once. The location might surprise you because it's not directly on your manhood. It's at the very base of your pelvic floor, just behind where you'd sit on a bicycle seat. Men who master this point often describe the results as instant control, the ability not only to achieve firmness but to maintain it for as long as they want, without fear of losing it at the wrong moment. Here's why it works. At the bottom of your pelvic region is a sling-like network of muscles and connective tissue called the perineal body. This is the anchor point for both your urogenital diaphragm and your anal sphincter, meaning it's a crossroad for circulation, nerve conduction, and muscular tension. When this area is tight and locked up, which it often is in men over 60 due to years of sitting, stress, and inactivity, blood can't fully enter or stay in the chambers where it's needed most. The secret here isn't brute force, it's targeted stimulation that tells your body, hey, it's time to open the gates. How to activate the third point. Find the spot. Sit on the edge of a firm chair with your feet flat on the floor. Shift your weight slightly forward so you can feel your sit bones against the seat. The third activation point is located midway between those bones, slightly toward the front. Imagine drawing a triangle from your left sit bone to your right, then to the base of your manhood. The point you're aiming for is in the center of that triangle. Targeted pressure using a small rolled-up towel, a soft ball like a tennis ball, or even your own fingers if you're lying down. Apply gentle upward pressure into this spot. It shouldn't hurt if it does lighten the pressure. You might feel a strange combination of warmth, fullness, or a subtle urge to contract your muscles. That's a good sign. Pulsing engagement while maintaining that gentle upward pressure. Contract your pelvic floor muscles as if you're trying to stop the flow of urine midstream. Hold for 5 seconds, then relax for 5 seconds. Repeat this 5 to 7 times. As you do this, imagine you're pumping life, strength, and energy into the area. Finish with a breath surge on your final contraction. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for a count of 3. Then release slowly while letting the pelvic floor relax completely. Here's the magic. When this point is activated, right after the first two, you create a closed-loop system. Blood enters freely thanks to points 1 and 2, and now stays where it needs to be thanks to point 3. This is the exact sequence I use with my male patients who come to me saying, "Dr. Sarah, I've tried pills, supplements, exercises. Nothing works." One of my patients, Alan, 68, told me that after 3 weeks of doing this sequence daily, his wife looked at him one morning and said, "You've got that sparkle back in your eyes." He laughed because the sparkle wasn't just in his eyes, it was in his confidence, his energy, his willingness to take her out dancing again after years of avoiding it now. Let's talk frequency, because this is the part most men underestimate. Doing this sequence once will likely give you a noticeable boost that day, but doing it every single day for 14 to 21 days straight, that's when the body starts to remodel itself, new capillaries form, nerves regain sensitivity, and your pelvic floor learns to stay awake instead of drifting back into dormancy. A quick but important note: avoid holding your breath during the contractions, except for the final surge I mentioned. Oxygen delivery is part of the magic here, and don't try to rush it. The beauty of this method is that it takes under 5 minutes a day, and your results build over time. By now, you have all 3 points. Point 1, the switch awakens local circulation in your manhood. Point 2, the highway opens the main pathway for blood flow from your hips downward. Point 3, the lock secures that blood in place while activating nerve and muscle control. The only thing left is to connect them into a single smooth routine, a flow you can do anywhere, anytime, without anyone knowing. That's what I'm going to walk you through in the final block, because when you string these 3 points together into a single, fluid practice, something extraordinary happens. Your body starts to respond automatically. You wake up hard, you feel more alive during the day, and you walk into the bedroom without a shred of doubt in your mind.